What would you do if your daughter demanded you leave your own home, threatening cops? I'm Margaret, 68, from Texas, and in March 2024, Sarah's cruel words broke my heart. After years of serving her family, I uncovered her plot to steal my house. My revenge? I sold it. Watch this shocking, true infidelity story of family betrayal and silent justice unfold.
It was one of those Texas afternoons in March 2024 where the sun draped Austin like a warm quilt and the air carried the sweet tang of barbecue smoke. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68 years old, a widow who thought family meant everything. My daughter Sarah's backyard buzzed with her usual crowd, lawyers from her firm, Nathan's golf pals, and those yoga moms from her neighborhood. I stayed where I always did, in the kitchen, pulling a tray of pecan sandies from the oven, a recipe my mama passed down. The buttery scent filled the air as I arranged them, wiping my hands on my apron with the same care I'd learned as a young bride in '72. Out on the patio, Sarah held court, her auburn hair bouncing with every laugh, a margarita sloshing in her hand. She was loud, commanding, the queen of her domain. I caught Nathan's eye as I stepped outside, offering the tray with a quiet smile. "Cookies, y'all?" I said, voice soft but clear.
He nodded, then looked away, like I was just part of the furniture. The group grabbed a few treats, some mumbling thanks, but Sarah's voice cut through like a knife. "Oh, Mama just hangs around," she said, waving her glass toward me, like I was some stray she'd taken in. Her friends chuckled, awkward, not cruel, but it stung like a slap across my face. I stood there, tray heavy in my hands, feeling my cheeks burn. Nathan stared at his boots. No one corrected her. No one even blinked. I turned back inside, set the tray on the counter, and started collecting empty plates, scraping brisket scraps in silence. The clink of dishes was my only company. By the time Sarah's heels clicked upstairs, I'd polished the granite counter till it gleamed. Nathan shuffled past, muttering, "Thanks, Margaret." Not Mom, not even mother-in-law, just Margaret. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. 3 days later, I was brewing coffee at dawn, reaching for my favorite mug, the one Henry painted with bluebonnets for our 10th anniversary. My hand slipped, and a glass tumbler crashed to the tile floor, shattering with a sound that echoed my heart. Sarah stormed in, eyes blazing. "What the hell did you break now?" she snapped. "I'm sorry, I started, kneeling to pick up the shards. She cut me off, hand raised like a stop sign. "You don't belong here, Mama," she said, voice tight. "You think you're entitled just 'cause you're old?" I froze, glass in my hands, looking up at her, my baby girl, now a stranger with venom in her eyes. "This is my house," I whispered, voice shaking. "Your house? Get real. You're here because I allow it." Then she pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "Get out by tomorrow or I'm calling the cops," she hissed. I saw her tap the dial button, heard the faint ring of 911. She wasn't bluffing. I stood, hands trembling, and walked out to the backyard where my rosemary bushes still bloomed. This garden was mine. Every seed, every pruned branch, every drop of sweat under the Texas sun. But Sarah's voice followed, sharp and smug, talking to the operator like I was a trespasser. That's when it hit me, standing barefoot on the patio, the sun too bright, the air too heavy. Sarah didn't see me as her mother anymore. She saw me as a burden, a hurdle to her shiny new life. And I knew why. Those late-night calls, the whispers I'd overheard. Sarah was cheating on Nathan, sneaking around with some hotshot lawyer, dreaming of a life bigger than this old house. But she forgot one thing. This house, every inch of it, still belonged to me. And I wasn't going anywhere, not without a fight.
Sarah came along in '76, a bundle of giggles with her daddy's eyes. I'd catch her dancing barefoot on the drop cloths, splotches of paint on her cheeks, while Henry hummed Willie Nelson tunes. "Careful, darling," he'd tease, "our mama'll paint you instead of the walls." Those were golden days. Porch suppers, homemade quilts, a garden more hope than harvest. This house held our story. Every birthday, every scraped knee, every night I rocked Sarah through storms. When Henry got sick in 2002, it became our anchor. Lung cancer took him slow, but we turned the den into his room, no stairs to climb. I'd sit by his bed, reading Louis L'Amour novels, his hand weak but warm in mine. He nodded, then looked away, like I was just part of the furniture. The group grabbed a few treats, some mumbling thanks, but Sarah's voice cut through like a knife. "Oh, Mama just hangs around," she said, waving her glass toward me like I was some stray she'd taken in. Her friends chuckled, awkward, not cruel, but it stung like a slap across my face. I stood there, tray heavy in my hands, feeling my cheeks burn. Nathan stared at his boots. No one corrected her. No one even blinked. I turned back inside, set the tray on the counter, and started collecting empty plates, scraping brisket scraps in silence. The clink of dishes was my only company. By the time Sarah's heels clicked upstairs, I'd polished the granite counter till it gleamed. Nathan shuffled past, muttering, "Thanks, Margaret." Not Mom, not even mother-in-law, just Margaret. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. 3 days later, I was brewing coffee at dawn, reaching for my favorite mug, the one Henry painted with blue bonnets for our 10th anniversary. My hand slipped, and a glass tumbler crashed to the tile floor, shattering with a sound that echoed my heart. Sarah stormed in, eyes blazing. "What the hell did you break now?" she snapped. "I'm sorry, I started, kneeling to pick up the shards. She cut me off, hand raised like a stop sign. "You don't belong here, Mama," she said, voice tight. "You think you're entitled just 'cause you're old?" I froze, glass in my hands, looking up at her, my baby girl, now a stranger with venom in her eyes. "This is my house," I whispered, voice shaking. Sarah laughed, cold and sharp. "Your house? Get real. You're here because I allow it." Then she pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "Get out by tomorrow or I'm calling the cops," she hissed. I saw her tap the dial button, heard the faint ring of 911. She wasn't bluffing. I stood, hands trembling, and walked out to the backyard, where my rosemary bushes still bloomed. This garden was mine. Every seed, every pruned branch, every drop of sweat under the Texas sun. But Sarah's voice followed, sharp and smug, talking to the operator like I was a trespasser. And that's when it hit me, standing barefoot on the patio, the sun too bright, the air too heavy. Sarah didn't see me as her mother anymore. She saw me as a burden, a hurdle to her shiny new life. And I knew why. Those late-night calls, the whispers I'd overheard.
Sarah was cheating on Nathan, sneaking around with some hotshot lawyer, dreaming of a life bigger than this old house. But she forgot one thing. This house, every inch of it, still belonged to me. And I wasn't going anywhere, not without a fight. Some betrayals don't just sting. They fester, creeping into every corner of your heart like rust. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68, standing in my Austin kitchen in March 2024, still hearing Sarah's voice, "Get out or I'll call the cops," like a whip crack echoing off the tiles. But to understand how we got here, you need to know where we began. Back in 1980, Henry and I found our home, a beat-up Victorian on a quiet street, paint peeling, porch sagging like an old man's grin. It was a fixer-upper, but to us, it was a Texas palace. We'd been married 12 years, scraping by on Henry's mechanic wages and my library clerk paycheck. No fancy honeymoons for us, just a weekend in a borrowed hill country cabin, cooking beans over a campfire, laughing under a shared quilt. That was our love. Simple, steady, real. Henry ran his calloused hand along the banister, grinning like a kid at Christmas. "She's got good bones, Maggie," he said, "like us." We bought it, poured our sweat into it, painting walls, patching floors, planting bluebonnets in the yard. Sarah came along in '76, a bundle of giggles with her daddy's eyes. I'd catch her dancing barefoot on the drop cloths, splotches of paint on her cheeks, while Henry hummed Willie Nelson tunes. "Careful, darling, or Mama'll paint you instead of the walls." Those were golden days. Porch suppers, homemade quilts, a garden, more hope than harvest.
This house held our story. Every birthday, every scraped knee, every night I rocked Sarah through storms. When Henry got sick in 2002, it became our anchor. Lung cancer took him slow, but we turned the den into his room. No stairs to climb. I'd sit by his bed, reading Louis L'Amour novels, his hand weak but warm in mine. He slipped away one morning in '05, sunlight spilling through the blinds. The house kept his echo, his laugh in the creaky floors, his scent in the cedar chest. I stayed 10 years after, clinging to those ghosts. But loneliness is a heavy guest. In 2015, Sarah said, "Move in with us, Mama. You won't be alone." I packed my memories, wedding photos, Henry's tools, that bluebonnet mug, and rented out the house for income. Sarah's two-story in Austin felt like a new chapter. At first, it was sweet. Sarah brewed me coffee, Nathan hung my shelves. I thought, this is family, a second chance at love.
But the warmth faded fast. Sarah started moving my things. My quilt rack vanished, my old clock swapped for some digital junk. Rules crept in like weeds. No frying bacon, Mama, it stinks. No radio after 9, Nathan needs quiet. No plants on the porch, they're tacky. My world shrank to a guest room, a corner of their perfect life. I cooked, cleaned, folded their laundry, matched Nathan's socks like a hired hand. Sarah never said thanks. She didn't need to. I was invisible, a ghost scrubbing her counters, watering her roses she forgot existed. But ghosts hear things. One night, I crept downstairs for tea, barefoot on the cold tiles. Sarah's voice stopped me at the kitchen's edge. "She's a burden, Nathan," she hissed in the living room. "Always hovering, eating our food, cluttering our space."
Nathan mumbled something soft, but Sarah's laugh was sharp. "She thinks she's entitled 'cause she's old. I'm done playing nursemaid." My hands shook, tea sloshing in the kettle I clutched. I backed away, heart pounding. Thump, 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 thump. Their words carving a hole in my chest. Burden, clutter, not Mama. I didn't confront her. I just kept quiet, filing every slight in my mind like a ledger. But the cracks were spreading. Then I saw it. Sarah's phone, left on the counter one evening, lit up with a text from D. "Miss you, babe? Meet me at the Driscoll, 9 p.m. My stomach dropped. D wasn't Nathan. I glanced at the hall. Sarah was upstairs, giggling on another call. I swiped the screen, heart racing like a spooked horse. Messages poured out. D was David, a slick lawyer she worked with, all charm and cash. "Need the house, Sarah," he'd texted. "Sell it, clear my debts,
And we'll start fresh. You, me, a penthouse downtown. Sarah's reply? Working on it. Mama's in the way, but not for long. I set the phone down, hands trembling, bile rising in my throat. Sarah wasn't just cheating on Nathan. She was plotting to steal my home, my legacy, to bankroll her affair with this snake. Days later, I found papers in her office, a forged mortgage application listing Sarah as the owner, claiming I was senile, her dependent. The betrayal wasn't just words now, it was theft, cold and calculated. She thought I'd roll over, too old, too broken to fight. But she forgot who raised her. Henry used to say, "Never underestimate a Texas woman, especially one who's loved and lost." I wasn't done yet. This house was mine. Every nail, every memory, every drop of sweat Henry and I poured into it. Sarah's affair might have lit the fuse, but I was about to blow her world apart.
Betrayal doesn't just break you, it sharpens you, hones your heart into something fierce, unyielding. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68, standing in my Austin home in March 2024. Sarah's words still burning my ears. "You don't belong here, Mama." Her affair with that slick lawyer David was no secret anymore. I had seen the texts, her plans to steal my house, my home since 1980, to bankroll their high-rolling dreams. The forged papers I found in her office, claiming I was senile, her dependent, weren't just lies, they were theft. Sarah thought she could erase me, but she forgot who built these walls. It started quiet, like a Texas storm brewing on the horizon. A week after the barbecue, where Sarah waved me off like a stray dog, she cornered me in the living room. I was dusting Henry's old cedar clock, the one Sarah called clutter, when she marched in, a sleek folder tucked under her arm. "Mama," she said, voice smooth as snake oil, "I need a favor. It's about the house." I set the rag down, my hand steady, but my gut twisting. "What about it?" I asked, eyes on hers. She slid the folder across the coffee table, her manicured nails tapping the cover. "It'd be easier if the deed was in my name," she said, "for taxes, refinancing, streamlining things." I didn't touch the folder. "Easier for who?" I said, voice low. Sarah sighed, like I was a child testing her patience. "It's for all of us," she said, but her eyes flicked away toward the window where Nathan mowed the lawn. "I'm not signing anything," I said, picking up the rag, dusting again. "This house is mine and Henry's, always will be." Her smile tightened, a crack in her perfect mask. "It's just a signature, Mama," she pressed. "You'd still live here. Nothing changes." I looked her dead in the eye. "Everything's already changed, Sarah." The air went heavy, like the moment before thunder cracks. She stood, folder in hand, and left without another word. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Days later, my bank called. A mortgage application tied to my address, filed in Sarah's name. I drove to Austin Community Bank, heart pounding, thump, thump, and demanded the paperwork. There it was, in black and white. Sarah's signature on forms claiming she owned my house, that I was incapacitated, that she'd inherited it early to care for me. Care? She'd barely looked at me since Christmas. Her care was late-night calls with David, whispering about penthouses and private jets. I clutched the papers, my hands shaking like leaves in a storm. This wasn't just greed, it was a knife in my back, twisted by the girl I'd raised. That night, March 15, 2024, it all came crashing down. I was in the kitchen, chopping onions for chili, the knife steady despite the ache in my chest. Sarah stormed in, phone in hand, eyes blazing like a wildfire. "We need to talk," she snapped, slamming the phone on the counter. I set the knife down, wiping my hands on my apron. "About what?" I asked, though I already knew.
She leaned in, voice low and venomous. "I know you called the bank," she said. "You're making things messy, Mama. Just sign the damn papers." I stepped back, heart racing, thump, thump. "Those papers are lies," I said. "You forged my name, Sarah. You tried to steal my home." Her laugh was cold, sharp as broken glass. "Your home," she mocked. "This is my house now. You're just squatting." Squatting. The word hit like a slap. I thought of Henry, his hands sanding these floors, his voice singing to Sarah as a baby. "I raised you here," I whispered, voice cracking. "This is mine." Sarah's eyes narrowed, her phone screen glowing with David's name. "You're a burden," she hissed. "David says we can't move forward with you dragging us down. Sign the deed or get out." I shook my head, tears burning but unshed. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. That's when she snapped. "Fine," she shouted, grabbing her phone, tapping the screen with a fury I'd never seen. 911, what's your emergency?" The operator's voice crackled through. "My mother's trespassing," Sarah said, calm now, like she was ordering coffee. "She refuses to leave my house." I stared, mouth dry, as she gave our address, my address since 1980. She wasn't bluffing. "Sarah," I said, voice trembling, "you don't have to do this." She smirked, phone pressed to her ear. "Too late, Mama." I turned, walking to my room like a condemned woman, each step heavy with 30 years of memories. I grabbed the cedar box under my bed, Henry's letters, our marriage license, the house deed in my name. My hand shook as I stuffed them into a tote bag, along with my bluebonnet mug, a photo of Henry grinning in his overalls. Sarah's voice followed me, still on the phone, detailing my trespass like I was a thief. I slipped out the back door, past my rosemary bushes, their scent sharp in the cool night air. The Texas stars burned bright above, like they had when Henry and I danced on this patio, Sarah asleep in her crib. This was my home, every nail, every memory. But Sarah, blinded by her affair with David, thought she could take it all. She thought I was weak, too old to fight back. She didn't know me at all. Henry's voice echoed in my mind. Never underestimate a Texas woman. I wasn't running, I was regrouping. I drove to a motel off I-35, a no-frills place with flickering neon signs. Checked in with cash, sat on the lumpy bed, the deed heavy in my hands. Sarah's betrayal wasn't just about the house, it was about her affair. David whispering promises of wealth, pushing her to erase me for their penthouse dreams. I thought of her texts. "Once she's out, we're set. Set to steal my life, my legacy, while I scrubbed their floors. But I wasn't done. This old woman had one card left to play, a card Sarah never saw coming. I'd sell this house, my house, and burn her dreams to the ground. Henry used to say, "When you're backed into a corner, don't beg, fight." And I was ready to fight. Some fights don't need shouting. They're won in whispers, in the quiet scratch of a pen on paper. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68, hiding out in an Austin motel in March 2024. Sarah's betrayal, a fresh wound in my chest. Her affair with that snake of a lawyer, David, drove her to forge papers, to call the cops on her own mother, all to steal my home, the one Henry and I built in 1980. But she forgot one thing. I held the deed, and I wasn't the frail old woman she thought. The motel room smelled of stale coffee and bleach, its neon sign buzzing outside like a trapped fly. I sat on the bed, the house deed spread out before me, Henry's handwriting faint on the old contract. My hands didn't shake anymore. Sarah's voice, "Get out or I'll call the cops," had lit a fire in me, and I was ready to burn her plans to ash. The next morning, March 16, I drove to Thomas Reed's office, a retired lawyer Henry called brother since 65. Thomas lived in a cedar-shingled bungalow surrounded by pecan trees and mockingbirds. He opened the door in a flannel shirt, white hair wild, eyes sharp despite the early hour. "Margaret," he said, ushering me in, "you look like you're ready to raise hell." I managed a half-smile, the first in days. We sat at his oak table, sipping black coffee strong enough to wake the dead. I laid out the papers, the deed, the bank's forged mortgage, Sarah's lies claiming I was senile. Thomas flipped through them, his jaw tightening with every page. "She tried to rob you blind," he growled. "But she's got no claim. This house is yours, every board and nail." "I want to sell it," I said, voice steady. "Fast, no games." Thomas raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "You sure, Maggie? That's your history." "It's my future now," I replied. "Sarah wants it. She can't have it." He nodded, a glint of respect in his eyes. "I'll draw up the protections," he said. "You need a realtor. No one?" I did. Emily Carter, a young woman whose mama I'd worked with at the library. Emily was sharp, all business in her boots and blazer, but kind, with a smile that reminded me of Sarah at 16. I met her that afternoon at her office, a small storefront off South Congress, its glass door gleaming under the Texas sun. "Miss Margaret," she said, shaking my hand. "What's the plan?" I said, "Sell my house. This week, private showings only, serious buyers."
She didn't blink, just grabbed a notepad. "Market's hot," she said. 3-bedroom Victorian, good bones, your garden's a gem. We'll get offers fast." I handed her the deed, Thomas's legal papers clipped neat. "Don't let Sarah know," I said. "She thinks it's hers." Emily's eyes widened, but she nodded. My lips are sealed. That evening, we met at the house, my house. I stayed in my car, watching Emily snap photos, her boots crunching on the gravel drive. I couldn't go inside, not with Sarah's perfume lingering, her rules etched into every wall. No plants, no music, no you. Emily returned, handing me a clipboard. "It's listed tomorrow," she said. "Cash buyers are circling already." I signed the authorization, my hand steady as a rock. The pen's scratch was louder than any scream, a quiet rebellion Sarah never saw coming. By March 20th, Emily's phone was blowing up. 3 offers rolled in before noon, all full price or better.
The first was a tech bro wanting a rustic retreat. The second, a developer duo itching to flip it for profit. The third was Grace Monroe, a 62-year-old widow, fresh off a divorce settlement, looking for a place to breathe. I chose Grace, not just for her cash offer, clean, no strings, but for her voice on the phone, tired but kind, like mine after Henry passed. "She reminds of you," Emily said, handing me the contract. "Wants a garden, a home, not just a house." I signed, the deed transferring to Grace, effective immediately. Sarah's calls started that night, 5, then 10, her number lighting up my phone like a distress signal. I didn't answer. Let her stew. Let her wonder why her world was tilting. She thought I was broken, hiding in shame. She didn't know I was rewriting her ending. David's texts to her, "Get the house, babe, we're set," were her fuel, but I held the match. I thought of Henry, his hands sanding our porch, his laugh filling these rooms. "This is for us," I whispered, clutching his bluebonnet mug in the motel. Sarah's affair with David wasn't just a fling, it was a plot to erase me, to trade my legacy for their downtown dreams. But I wasn't invisible. I was the woman who'd built this house, who'd loved and lost, and kept going. Emily called at dusk, March 20th, 2024. She said, "It's done. Grace closes tomorrow. Sarah gets the eviction notice in the morning." I leaned back on the motel bed, the neon sign buzzing outside. No tears, no regrets, just a calm I hadn't felt in years. Sarah thought she'd won, her affair with David a ticket to freedom. But freedom's a funny thing. It cuts both ways. I'd just cut her loose, and she didn't even know it yet. Henry's voice echoed soft. "Never underestimate a Texas woman." I wasn't fighting for a house anymore. I was fighting for me.
Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a quiet knock, a sealed envelope, a truth too heavy to outrun. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68, watching from my Austin motel in March 2024, as the house I built with Henry in 1980 slipped from Sarah's grasp. Her affair with that snake, David, pushed her to forge papers, to scream, "Get out or I'll call the cops." But I sold it, my home, my legacy, to Grace Monroe, a widow like me, leaving Sarah with nothing but her greed. March 22, 2024, dawn broke over Austin like a cracked egg, spilling gold across the skyline. At 8:30 a.m., a courier knocked on Sarah's door. My door until yesterday. Inside the envelope, a legal bomb. The transfer of ownership to Grace, notarized, ironclad, and a 7-day eviction notice. My name was in the sender line, Margaret Hayes. Not Mama, not the burden Sarah mocked. I didn't need to see her face to know it. Panic would have twisted that perfect mask, her eyes scanning for a loophole that wasn't there. She called me 10 times that morning, each ring a plea I let die unanswered. Her voicemail was a frantic hiss. "Mama, what's this? You can't sell my house. We live here. Call me back." We. Not you. Not "you built this." Not "I'm sorry." Just we. Like her affair with David had burned every bridge between us.
By noon, the neighbors caught wind. Cars slowed past the house, sprinklers paused mid-hiss, voices muttering behind fences. Sarah's getting kicked out? Her own mama sold it.
The gossip spread like wildfire, Austin's tight-knit streets buzzing. Did you hear? She cheated on Nathan, tried to steal the old lady's house. Sarah stepped out that afternoon, sunglasses hiding puffy eyes, lipstick too bright for her pale face. She held her chin high, but her shoulders sagged, betraying the weight of her ruin. She packed slow, hoping for a miracle. Maybe I'd show up, heart soft, ready to undo it all. But I wasn't coming. I'd given enough. 30 years of love, meals cooked, roses watered, only to be called a freeloader. Nathan didn't lift a finger. He stood by their SUV, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the horizon. When Sarah handed him a suitcase, he stepped back, voice flat as the Texas plains. "I'm done, Sarah," he said. "I'm going to my folks' place." She blinked, mouth half open. "Nathan, wait!" He didn't. He climbed into the car, engine growling, and left her on the curb, alone with her Samsonite bags. Her phone buzzed. Not me, not Nathan, but David, her lover, the lawyer who'd promised her the stars.
I didn't need to hear it to know he was cutting her loose. Word was out. David faced fraud charges, his firm digging into his shady deals thanks to a tip I'd sent Thomas. Sarah's affair wasn't just a secret now. It was her undoing, splashed across Austin's legal circles. Her text to David, "Get the house, we're set," had backfired, leaving her with nothing but debt. By evening, she showed up at my motel, a cheap dive off I-35, her SUV parked crooked in the lot. She knocked, face bare of makeup, hair tangled like a storm had hit it. "Mama," she whispered through the door, voice cracking like dry earth. "Please, let me in. I got nowhere to go. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." Her hands pressed the glass like when she was 5, begging for ice cream. I stood on the other side, heart pounding, thump, thump, but cold, steady. I thought of Henry, his hands sanding our porch, his voice promising we'd always have a home. I thought of Sarah's laugh, calling me clutter, her phone glowing with David's lies. "You chose this," I said, voice low but firm, not opening the door. "You and David wanted my house. Now you've got your freedom." Her sob was raw, a sound I'd once soothed with lullabies. "Mama, please," she begged. "I'll change, I swear." I shook my head, though she couldn't see. "Too late, Sarah," I said. "You burned that bridge."
I turned away, leaving her in the neon glow, her cries fading into the hum of traffic. No anger, just certainty. I'd given enough. The next day, Emily, my realtor, called. "Grace moves in Monday," she said. "Sarah's packing, but she's fighting it. Called my office, claiming she's the owner." I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "She's got no claim," I said. Thomas made sure. Emily paused, then added, "Folks are talking, saying Sarah's affair cost her everything. Nathan's filing for divorce." I nodded. No joy in it, just a hollow ache. Sarah's world was crumbling, her penthouse dreams dust, all because she bet on David's lies. I drove to my new apartment that night, a modest place on Austin's east side, paid for with the sales cash. The keys jangled in my hand, a sound sweeter than any apology. I stepped inside, smelling fresh paint, the quiet wrapping me like a quilt. On the balcony, I set out a pot of mint, its scent sharp and free,
like Henry's laugh on summer nights. Sarah's affair had started this war, her greed for David's promises blinding her to who I was, a Texas woman, forged by love and loss. She thought she'd break me, but I broke her chains instead. The house was gone, but I wasn't. I was just beginning.
Some scars don't fade, but they teach you to stand taller, to breathe deeper, to claim the life you're owed. I'm Margaret Hayes, 68, standing on the balcony of my new Austin apartment, June 2025, watching the city hum under a lavender sky. 3 months ago, my daughter Sarah's affair with the crooked lawyer, David, tore my world apart. Her screams, "Get out or I'll call the cops!" Her forged papers to steal my house, they were meant to break me. But I sold that house, the one Henry and I built in 1980, right out from under her, handing it to Grace Monroe, a widow seeking peace. Now, I'm not just surviving, I'm rising. This apartment, tucked on Austin's east side, is small but mine, paid for with the sales cash. The air smells of fresh paint, of mint from the pots I've planted, their leaves sharp and free, like Henry's laugh on summer nights. I set out my cedar clock, Henry's bluebonnet mug, a photo of us dancing on our porch, Sarah asleep in her crib. These are my anchors, proof of a life I built, not the burden Sarah called me. Her affair with David was the spark, igniting her greed, her plan to trade my legacy for their penthouse dreams. But sparks burn out. Word travels fast in Austin. Sarah's name is mud now, whispered in coffee shops, muttered over backyard fences. She cheated on Nathan, they say, tried to rob her own mama. Her law firm let her go, clients spooked by the scandal.
David's no better. Fraud charges piled high, his license on the chopping block. He cut Sarah loose when the heat came, leaving her with nothing but regret. Nathan filed for divorce, took his golf clubs and walked away. Sarah's penthouse dreams, dust in the Texas wind. She called me last week, voice thin, from some cheap rental downtown. "Mama, I'm sorry," she said. "I lost everything." I listened, sipping mint tea, the city lights winking beyond my balcony. No anger, no pity, just a quiet ache for the girl she was. "I forgive you," I said, "but forgiveness don't mean trust." I hung up, set the phone face down, and crushed a mint leaf between my fingers. The scent filled the air, clean and sharp, like a new beginning. I started a garden club, teaching neighbors to grow rosemary, their hands in the dirt, their laughs like music. I volunteer at the library, reading to kids who remind me of Sarah at 5, eyes wide with wonder. They call me Miss Maggie, and it feels like home.
This morning, I walked the Barton Creek Trail, the Texas sun warm on my face, bluebonnets nodding in the breeze. I thought of Henry, his hands sanding our porch, his voice promising we'd always have each other. I thought of Sarah, her affair with David, her betrayal that set me free. She thought she'd bury me, but she dug her own grave. I don't revel in her ruin. It's a sad song, but not my tune anymore. I'm writing a new one, with mint and sunlight, with neighbors who know my name. Betrayal cuts deep, but silence is strength. I stayed quiet too long, cooking her meals, watering her roses, swallowing her slights. But when she crossed that line, I remembered who I was, a Texas woman, forged by love and loss. Henry used to say, "When you're backed into a corner, don't beg, fight." I fought, not with screams, but with a realtor's pen, a lawyer's nod, a deed that bore my name. Now, I stand here, whole, free, the city humming my song. If you've ever been betrayed, know this: you're stronger than their lies. Your silence isn't weakness, it's a blade waiting to cut the chains they forged. Stand up, remember what's yours, and claim it. Have you faced family betrayal fueled by infidelity? How did you find justice or heal? Share below, like, and subscribe to my channel for more raw tales of heartbreak and triumph.